Hey everyone, good morning and thank you very much for joining me. My name's Dan Litvin and I am the president here at Pure Lighting Company. Today we'll be taking about 20 minutes or so to go into an overview of UVC technology. This webinar is co-produced, co-marketed with ECS Global Services. If you are interested in co-marketing opportunities with us, please reach out via email info@pure-lighting.com. We do very much believe that the more the merrier, and the more we work together, the better for everyone. So please do that. All right, so again, it's Dan Litvin, the co-founder and president here. My background is in electrical engineering. I graduated from Rutgers University, and I'm a professional member of the IUVA. That means that I've been involved with the UV industry for some time and approach everything from a very science-based solution. That's something that you'll become very, very informed very shortly with. So let's get started and let's just dive right on in here. So what I have here is a brief history of UVC light. And I'm not going to go into this. That's going to be quite boring and quite long, and I have a limited amount of time. But what I want to demonstrate here is if you notice that UVC light was first commercialized in 1901. Since then and before that time, there has been consistent and constant research, peer-reviewed, rigorous research done in academic and lab settings. This is tried, true, and tested technology, something that a lot of the other technologies that are being hawked in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic cannot say the same with. And so the claims that I'll be making do stand upon the shoulders of many giants in the realms of research and development. So UVC disinfection, it works by having a certain wavelength of energy and being able to penetrate right into the DNA of pathogens. And so what happens when the DNA of pathogens is entered with this short wavelength of UVC light is that it essentially gets scrambled. When it's scrambled, it can no longer replicate. Since it can't replicate, it can't infect. And when you take a bigger object, something, let's say like a mammal, then it's large enough that it's not able to do that same level of damage. So this works for small items such as viruses, bacteria, mold spores, etc. In terms of the efficacy against SARS-CoV-2, there has been a large amount of research showing the efficacy and showing that it is highly efficacious against SARS-CoV-2. And now that we are more than a year removed from the onset of this pandemic, there seems to be a new paper that emerges every single week showing this efficacy. But in addition to that, again, I mentioned this technology has been around for more than 100 years, and it's been used against essentially every virus, bacteria, and mold spore it's been tested on. It's just a matter of dosage. And so here's a list of common viruses and bacteria that you might find in a school or office setting. There is proof for all of these different pathogens here, showing the efficacy, again, just depending on the dosage. Most of them are near or identical to the dosage required for SARS-CoV-2. In terms of a firm, we'll go into all these items right here. I don't really want to spend too much time on this. I want to go more into the solutions rather than some self-aggrandizing marketing there. So today I'm going to be going over 4 different types of solutions here. So we're going to have air purification, upper air, whole room, and hybrid solutions. So air purification works a few ways. The primary way is going to be connected with the HVAC system. And now in terms of the HVAC system, it's going to depend on your facility. So there's many different places where UVC can be inserted into a system. It can be inserted into the air handling unit directly, or into the ductwork. When there is sufficient airflow through an AHU, there's an additional benefit of cleaning the coils. That is going to make your system more efficacious. It's going to increase the longevity. It's going to increase the ability for airflow. So you're going to have the 2-for-1 deal there, which is A, the disinfection, B is going to be increasing the effectiveness of your system, its longevity, and it's going to lower the utility bills in that process. Now, air handling unit isn't always going to be possible for different reasons. In that case, there are induct options as well. Very, very simple retrofit options for that, most often in the return line of the ductwork after, let's say, contaminated germs have been filtered into it. There's also a new option that we're proud to have designed and to more or less have proprietary access to, and this is the unit ventilator solution. So we are based in New Jersey, and inside of pretty much every classroom, you see one of these. I don't know where you're located. If you're up north, most likely you'll see the same. And so the idea here is to provide that same solution, that same AHU handling solution locally in a classroom. So this is going to be able to, again, extend the lifespan of the AHU, of the unit ventilator, and purify the air in that area. Now, the reason that we're starting with air purification is that, as you know, SARS-CoV-2 is primarily transmitted via aerosol, via airborne transmission. Most highly contagious diseases, whether they're bacteria-based or viral-based, are the same. It is through that cross-contamination of the air, of breathing, speaking, sneezing, that does allow for these pathogens to spread easily. So having active disinfection while people are in a space is highly, highly important. Good. On that same level, inside public transit or school buses, the same exact idea can be implemented via a localized air exchange system. The same idea here, if there isn't a clear air exchange system, can be localized in a classroom. When we talk about the classroom or office community, when we talk about the hybrid solution, we'll dive into that a little bit more. Next up is going to be what's called upper air GUV. GUV is just a buzzword, germicidal, ultraviolet, same idea as UVC, just something that you might see around. Now, upper air GUV has been around for quite a while, and the idea of this is to shine high intensity UVC light up towards the ceiling. Because there's natural air currents inside of a space, all of that air that's being treated up towards the ceiling will eventually lower down to the ground, while all that contaminated air from that occupied space will filter on up, and you get a nice cleaning of the air. This is going to be a great solution for spaces with high ceilings. So this is going to be for your atriums, your large lobbies, perhaps your gyms, cafeterias, auditoriums, any of those types of spaces. And the fixtures themselves, whether they be wall mounted or ceiling mounted, you see two options right here for both those applications. Good. And I'm going to take a quick little detour before going into whole room disinfection. At any point, if anyone has any questions, please use the Q&A module. It's built into Zoom. Leave it there. At the end, I'll take some time for Q&A. So no need to stew or brew on those questions. I'll be very happy to dive in. There's already a couple lined up there. Anyway, back to your production here. So next up, this is going to be whole room disinfection. Now, the idea of this is, while a space is unoccupied, you're going to have highly, highly, highly efficacious airborne and surface level disinfection. These are going to be via fixtures that are essentially lighting fixtures with high-end controls installed into whatever space you're in. Now, one thing that needs to be mentioned is that direct exposure to UVC light at a certain dosage, so over a longer period of time, can cause some damage all the damage associated with UVC is temporary, but it can cause a little bit of damage, some reddening and irritation to the skin. And if one is staring directly at the light source for an extended period of time, a bit of irritation to the eyes. So on that side, anytime there is a whole room system, we have to have multiple safety measures in place to make sure that no one is under the UVC light directly, especially for an extended period of time. This is something when UVC, or let's say the pandemic first started, when UVC was first really seen as a great solution towards mitigating some of the risk, people were very apprehensive and skittish with having any exposure to UVC light. I can tell you I've been exposed to very much of it. I burn in the sun very easily, and I've had only one time have I ever had an issue, and that was from being about 2 inches away from a UVC light source for about 40 minutes throughout a 3-hour period, which I don't recommend anyone doing. And that was a bonehead move by me. I'll be the first one to admit it. All right, so on that side, we talked about some of these, let's say, safety measures and high-end controls. And so what we have is what's called the IntelliSafe control system. This is going to be an app-based system built into all these whole room fixtures that are going to allow for both flexibility and safety. Safety through smart motion sensors and occupancy sensors, through scheduling capabilities, through custom programming for it to operate the way that you and your team have it dictated. In terms of features, we want to be able to provide you, whether it's through HVAC, upper air, whole room, whatever it might be, a future-ready solution. I mentioned before about dosages and the different types of pathogens. Dosage is simply a measure of UVC light intensity times treatment time. And so if, let's say, there's another outbreak of COVID, let's say 2025 in a few years, I'm knocking on wood for that not to happen, and its dosage is a little bit longer, we want to be able to provide a very simple way that you can go and alter the dosage time, the treatment time, and have a future-ready solution. That's what the controls do. And this allows you to do things like between use automated disinfection. We'll talk about that. Scheduled comprehensive disinfection or on-demand disinfection. We are also in the works right now of creating a full-on monitoring and remote access system. So this will allow for daily reports, make sure that everything is working like it's supposed to, because many applications are going to be on at times that you're not in the facility at all. So it'll give you an opportunity to figure out what's working, when it's working, and to be able to commission everything from one central console. So we'll have more information about that in the coming weeks. I would be very happy to field any questions about what we're working on. And so on that side with the controls that's mentioned, so one of the things that we've seen most common is what we call the between use bathroom solution. So the idea here is that when bathrooms are occupied, lights stay off, and it allows for an automated between use disinfection. We know that bathrooms are responsible for a high amount of transmission. So in this, you see a light turn on after 5 minutes. When I walk back in, light turns off. This works equally well in a multi-gang bathroom. Light turns, has a hold time, extra safety precaution, turns on for a 5-minute treatment when there's no one in there, does its disinfection against your major pathogens, stays off until the next cycle. Right? Simple solution, all built into one fixture. This is something that we have implemented quite literally all around the country. Next up is on the realm of direct whole room UVC. This is a new technology called FAR UVC. This is something that is a type of UVC light, a very certain bandwidth of it that someone can be under it for a very, very, very long period of time and there'll be no damage incurred. That means that it is safe for high traffic facilities, elevators, break rooms, lobbies, let's say waiting areas, whatever it might be a place that people don't occupy for more than, let's say, an hour, 2 hours per day. This is something that I'll explore deeper in a future webinar. We'll be doing a series of micro webinars again, in the near future. More info on that will be coming soon. And then finally, a hybrid solution. This is going to be the best of both worlds, whole room and air purification built into a single fixture. When no one's in a space, you have whole room disinfection, all the benefits that come with that. And when people are in the space, to make sure that there is active disinfection, there is UVC facilitated air purification. Built into the fixture is going to be an air exchange unit, goes through a HEPA filter to remove some large particulates. Inside, there's a high-powered UVC light, which is going to disinfect the pathogens that run through. And for safe measure, one more HEPA filter on the way out to, again, remove some of those large particulates that may have made it through that first round. This way, again, best of both worlds, air purification while people are in a space, and there's going to be whole room disinfection while people are outside of it. Get the place, to a 99.99% level of near sterilization and maintain that as best as possible. Good. Now, in terms of UVC disinfection, this is going to be something that has a great return on investment because it is going to radically reduce the amount of time that is spent cleaning. In addition to the actual cost, there is going to be a health cost, which we will discuss in a few moments. The estimate that I have here is an incredibly conservative estimate. When we first did our research and math, quite honestly, the results were so, return on investment was so fast that it looked unbelievable. So we took some incredibly conservative numbers here, and within 11 weeks, a system will be able to pay itself off as compared to chemical disinfection. So in terms of that health, some of those health costs that were mentioned. So a lot of the disinfecting protocols that are being used have some very dangerous effects. UVC light, so long as one, no one is directly exposed to it, and two, you're buying it from a trusted source. There are low quality UVC products that do emit ozone. That is the realm of Amazon.com. And people who have never dealt with any lighting, all of a sudden trying to get in the game, please be very, very wary of those people. But in terms of UVC light, when it's done in a proper system, you can enter a space directly after treatment. There is going to be no harmful residue, odors, anything like that. Now, in terms of some of the other popularly used disinfection means, the same cannot be said. So for example, chemical use, the CDC and HHS have found that there has been a 60% increase to calls to poison control since the pandemic started. And it's not for accidental ingestion, it's actually from the fumes and vapors. What's interesting is a recently released paper, I've actually just read this a couple days ago, has shown that applying UVC light to many chemical disinfectants after a treatment will remove the toxic properties of those chemicals. And so this is a study from Waterloo University. They're up in Canada, our northern neighbors. And so right from their study there, so over 400 common disinfectants currently in use could be made safer for people and the environment and could better fight the COVID-19 virus with the simple application of UVC light. The researchers discovered that the chemical's toxicity could be fully neutralized using ultraviolet light. And so the whole idea here, again, using chemicals, disinfecting, but chemicals have a wet time that they need to do a treatment. And two, because of the nature of chemicals, these are toxic chemicals. Their whole purpose is to kill, and they don't take into consideration what they're killing here. So this allows, even if there needs to be a deeper cleaning through use of chemicals, it allows a quick treatment of UVC light. The dosage to do this is very, very small, and then the space can be safe to enter. This is going to be important for places that have a quick turnaround, or it's going to be important for places like schools, especially elementary schools, where you have younger kids that don't have the same immune system that adults have. Next up, I'm not going to harp too much on the topic I'm about to go into. I will do a whole webinar diving more into this, but I do want to mention a few things about ionizers. So I feel a need as a, coming from a firm that has well-researched solutions, that is looking to provide solutions, and that is trying to find the best solution to offer, to speak a little bit about ionizers, because this is essentially the realm of sales and marketing and not so much science. Again, I'll go into this more in a future webinar, but ionizers have been found to emit harmful VOCs. Some ionizers do emit ozone. Both of those are going to be toxic for the lungs. And especially the new technology that's going around, the bipolar ionization, is not adequately studied. The studies that exist are completely sponsored by the manufacturers. That is the same exact idea as McDonald's sponsoring a study that says Big Macs are healthy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner because they're high in protein, while completely neglecting all the other properties of the saturated fats, of all the chemicals and everything like that goes into those sandwiches. Right. Same idea there. To that degree, the New York State Education Department has actually released a statement saying, and I'll read it straight from them, bipolar ionization, needlepoint bipolar ionization ion generators, corona discharge technology can generate ozone, formaldehyde, and ultrafine particles from reactions with volatile organic compounds, VOCs. For this reason, the State Education Department, working with the Department of Health, is not recommending it at this time. Such tech is being marketed heavily. Please be cautious. The marketing literature does not discuss the byproducts of ionization. On that exact side, New York State Education Department, that same exact release, UV light is permitted so long as it's either in an HVAC system or has safeguards such as occupancy sensors, scheduling, scheduling operation, and all those things that the whole room systems we discussed have, right? So again, if you have more questions about that, that's my soapbox place right there. So I'll be happy to talk more. And again, there will be a future webinar where we just dive into some of these other means of disinfection. Sources for everything. Again, I told you everything is science-backed, and I'd be very happy to provide those sources. And in terms of the company, we have been working with many, many schools, offices, and different facilities. Our technology has gone into hospitals, schools, offices. We'd be very happy to provide more references. And here's just a very, very small selection. So on that side, I ran a little bit over time, so I'll come to a cease now and take in some of the questions. If there's any questions that don't get addressed today, anything that you remember, please email us at info@pure-lighting.com. And finally, we are going to be starting a series of what I'm calling micro webinars. There are going to be webinars that are 10 minutes or under, diving into specific topics. Some of the topics will include a deeper dive into the different types of UVC applications, like HVAC-based, upper air, etc. We'll talk about some emerging technologies like far UVC, as we mentioned here, and 405 nanometer violet light, which is a light that is completely safe to have on 24/7, be occupied 24/7, and has an antibacterial property. And we'll go into some topics such as comparing and diving into the pros, cons, best practices with some of the different common disinfection technologies. All right, so let's go into some of the questions that we have at this point. Perfect. Okay, so the first question that I have is going to be about lead times of this technology. So what is nice is that we do have either our own stock or we work with partners that will be able to get you your technology within a matter of 1 to 3 weeks. We are moving all of our manufacturing to be US based, and we have partners that are US based. We do believe that it is highly important for A, the supply chain, and B, the quality of the product. And then also C, you want to support your own people and your local communities that way. All right, so Next question is, what does GUV stand for again? Yeah, so GUV stands for germicidal ultraviolet. Ultraviolet light is broken down into actually, let me get technical, 4 subtypes: UVA, UVB, UVC, and what's called UVV or EUV. Different applications have different names. UVA and UVB, we see every single day when we step outside. UVA gives us our sun tans. UVB will cause some things like sunburn. UVA actually, though, is very, very carcinogenic because it penetrates very deeply into the skin. UVC has the high-end germicidal property. So oftentimes when you're looking at some literature, you might see GUV, and most often they mean UVC light. Okay, perfect. So the next question there is this technology approved for use? Yes, so ASHRAE, that's going to be the American Society of Heating, Refrigerator, and Air Conditioning Engineers, that's a mouthful right there, does support UVC applications. All the above that we've spoken about: whole room, upper air, and HVAC air purification based. As showed before, the New York State Department of Education supports this technology. It's been implemented literally around the country in all different applications. So it is approved and used technology. Great. How long does the average classroom need to be disinfected? Yeah, so it's a great question, because the answer is it depends. It depends on the type of application, what the light source is, but most typically in an average classroom, it's around 900 square feet. If you were to do, let's say, a whole room system of some sort, whether that's going to be built in just whole room troughers or the hybrid solution, treatment time will usually be just about 5 minutes for getting 99% disinfection of SARS-CoV-2. That treatment time can vary, a little bit either way, depending on what pathogen you're trying to treat or what kind of light sources you have built into your facility. And then when you get into your HVAC ductwork, the answer there is actually really quite interesting, because the answer is going to be a couple seconds, because you're going to have such high intensity UVC light, because it needs to be able to treat those pathogens in that literal 1 or 2 seconds when the air is flowing through. So at that point, you get a few seconds. And then for the stuff that's built into the ceiling, so you can keep your, the wattage is low. And also on that same side, as an extra safety measure, it'll take probably around 5 minutes, depending. Great. So next question I have here is regarding selection of best technology for your facility. Now that is going to be, that's going to be an interesting enough thing, because it's going to depend as well. It depends on what you're trying to get. Is this going to be your primary means of disinfection? Is this going to be supplementary? Is your main goal going to be to provide disinfection for occupied spaces, or are you just trying to disinfect when places are vacant? What does your budget look like? What are you trying to do? Is this just a solution most against SARS-CoV-2, or is this a future-ready solution? So on that side, it does require a discussion, and that's why, as a firm, we're around. That's why we have great, really well-trained, really, really bright sales reps across the nation that can go and support that dive. Excellent. Yeah, okay, perfect. So the question in terms of the hybrid unit, so on the slide, if it said square feet, excuse me, that was a typo. That was supposed to be cubic feet. And now in terms of the hybrid, we actually have a new model. So the model that is there is about, yes, it's about a little bit more than twice as powerful, about 2.5 times as powerful in terms of whole room disinfection than the pre-existing one where we have spec pages on the website for. So on that side, you would need about 2, maybe 3 per classroom for 900 square foot classroom. Excellent. Next question that I have here goes into labor. Yeah, pretty much labor. So so as a firm, we don't do labor, but we do have contractor partners again around the country that we make sure we vet. They are really quite fantastic. They offer great pricing, great quality, and all that. So we're very happy to and honored, honestly, to work with them. So we'll be able to provide some references and recommendations wherever you are geographically. Yeah. So UVC is not the technology you see in tanning beds. So a question here was if this was the same tech that you see in tanning salons. Yeah, so what's used in tanning salons is going to be mostly UVA type light. That is, again, what gives the pigmentation to the skin. UVC won't give that pigmentation. Unfortunately, I mean, I would love that because I'm an incredibly pale human being, but that's not the aspect of UVC. UVC has a germicidal effect, so it is going to be completely different technology, or yes, completely different technology than what you see in tanning salons. All the same, you are seeing more and more, let's say, reluctance and backlash against tanning salons, because there has been, again, with the period of time that they've been around, a lot of research having direct correlation with rises in cancer and the carcinogenic properties. So the tech that's used in tanning salons is actually going to be more dangerous than what we're talking about here, radically more dangerous. Gotcha. Perfect. Yeah, so that question was already answered there. And then finally, the last question here, more or less regards support that we offer here. And our idea is that we want to provide you the solution that's right for you. We don't want to oversell anything. We don't want to, get you something just because it's convenient or whatever it is. So on that side, we do, as a company, we are first and foremost a design firm. So we will work with you to make sure that you have the solution that's going to be efficacious, it's going to fit your budget, and it's going to be the best application for how you use your facility, and to make sure that the solution is as future ready as possible. All right, so those are the questions that I have. I'm going to very slowly meander my way as I sign off. Perfect. Great. Thanks for the additional questions. On the process of tests being done in a company. Okay, got it. So for this question, I'm going to, I think I know what I'm asking. If I answer the wrong question, please ask again. And then if I miss it, we can go connect for a call a little bit later. In terms of, let's say, the testing our product's efficacy of it, let me go back a bunch of slides here. I'll show you this. Great. So everything that we provide is going to be certified by major agencies. So you see here, EPA, ASHRAE, FCC, CE, RHS, SGS, RU. So it's going to be one element. And then all the actual technology that we use is highly, highly tested. We use Philips lamps, which have been used in essentially all of this research right here is with the lamps that we're using. We're using a technology that's been tested as shown here for more than 100 years. And so we're just applying technology that's already been used. In terms of any controls that we use, that is the same idea. Those are going to be high-end lighting controls, which have been applied, used for quite some time. And everything does go through rigorous testing. We do rigorous quality control to make sure that everything is working as need be. And in terms of the commissioning process, everything is again tested live and on site. we do take that very, very seriously because for us, reputation is important. And so we want to make sure that we're providing something that works as promised, that's safe, and that's hopefully as easy as possible. Okay, so again, as I start to sign off here, again, if there's any other questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A module there. Perfect. So I will be starting some of those micro webinars. See how people interact to using the best process in a company. That would be the best solution. Great. So I think that for that, honestly, maybe a phone call will be better. So I'll reach out right after we end up right here. Give me 2 seconds to take your contact info. And let's set up a time to chat a little bit. Thanks. So anyway, I'll be doing some of those micro webinars. If anyone has a topic they'd like to explore, just please send an email over to info@pure-lighting.com. That schedule should be up in about a week and a half or so. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time this morning. Thanks for your interest in working with us, and please reach out to us with any way that we can be of service to you. We love to collaborate and we love a good challenge. So the more interesting the problem or question, the better for us. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day and great rest of your week. Be well.